Today's video is going to be very special because I'm going to investigate what are the white spikes in tomorrow's war. These creatures were given this name by the humans. Nothing is known about them. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what they are. They're a mystery. So I'm going to try to explain what I believe they are. So let's begin our investigation into the white spikes. The white spikes were given this name by the humans. A fierce insectoid-like creature. Aggressive, armor-plated, and have some sort of tactical maneuvers in their arsenal. Other than that, nothing is really known about the white spike, except that they're aggressive. They consume human flesh. I believe if we are going to find out what they are, we need to go back to the source, the very first time they emerge. And that is the scene of the crash. There's a lot of evidence there and a lot of things that we can glean to hint of what I believe they are. Stay tuned because I'm going to say what they are and you're not going to believe it. First of all, let's go to the ship. We know that the ship crashed and we know the white spikes came out of this ship. So what can we glean? The ship itself gives clues of what I believe they are. There are two scenarios where people believe what the white spikes are. First of all, they believe that they're a prison ship. The next one, they believe that they're weapons. Let's examine both those scenarios. And I believe from how we examine the ship, a possibility of a third option is open. Let's examine whether this is a prison ship. For example, the ship was easily penetrated. We know that our jails today cannot be easily compromised by just one type of tool. So if this was a prison ship, logic will dictate that this ship will have multiple defenses and outer skin, not only to prevent escape, but to prevent anyone from helping them escape. If this was a prison ship, the ship was easily compromised by just a handheld power disc cutter. That makes no sense. From other ships that we've seen in other movies, we know the outer skin of the ship is most of the time impenetrable by most human tools. Let's go inside now. If this was a prison ship, most prisons have corridors that are sealed off, where you have to enter each cell in order to get access to another part of the jail. This is done on purpose. This is to slow down any sort of escape. But if we look at this ship, it has none of those things. It's open. The hallway's open, no doors. There's no turrets or any sort of self-defense, automated defense for a future prison ship? No, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't give off the vibes of a prison ship. Where are the automated systems? Where are the turrets? Where are the doors, the guards? Anything to show that they are keeping these dangerous, earth-destroying, earth-annihilating creatures in check. No, I don't believe this is a prison ship. And I don't believe they are prisoners. They had no restraints, physical. Yes, they were in some sort of jail, but the jail was easily penetrated by just a human needle. No, something's off. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look like this is a jail. Let's go to the next scenario. People say this is a weapon. Again, we're going to go with security. If this was a high-level mission to be carried out, and these were, again, extinction-level weapons, they would be protected. by maximum security. But they're not. The ship again was easily penetrated and compromised by a human tool, the most basic. The ship again, if you go inside, these weapons aren't put in some sort of separate area like you would in any other scenario that is carrying this kind of destructive tool. It wasn't labeled dangerous of any kind. The humans were able to walk right up to these creatures without any problem. If this was a weapon of this much power, most military have contingency plans. They have redundancy plans, backups for backups. That means if there's a crash, they have a backup system to maintain whatever their cargo they're holding. And a crash would surely in the future have been factored in if these were some sort of weapons. Back in World War II, if a bomber was hit by fatally by shrapnel or some sort of fire, and it was carrying a payload of weapons, but it wasn't at its spot where it was designated to drop its weapons, it would drop it to cause any sort of damage it could. It didn't hold on to the weapons to crash. It made sure that it deployed its weapons. If this was some sort of weapon to deploy on the earth, they would have something in the future that would implement an immediate deployment of the weapons if this was, again, that scenario. But they didn't. And a quick side point. The Predators, whenever their mission failed, what would they do? They would self-destruct. Why? Because they didn't want their technology to fall into the wrong hands. And again, this was done by a military-like species. So why didn't this creature? Why didn't the pilots? If they knew they were going to crash, they would have some sort of self-destruction so that the creature or the weapons wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. They didn't do that. This doesn't scream prison ship, and it doesn't scream that these are weapons, even though these creatures are aggressive, even though we know that they are dangerous. That doesn't mean that they are a weapon. I'm going to tell you right now what I believe they are. Let's go back to the clues. The ship. The ship has no real defenses on it that we can see. It had nothing to stop or hamper the flow of any sort of intrusion. They had nothing to really stop the creatures physically from leaving their cell. Even though they're futuristic, again, if this was some sort of prison or military ship, they would have immediately some sort of contingency plan to stop whatever would happen. The ship is easily accessed. It has open flow corridors. The creatures themselves, they're not really segregated in a place to show that they are that dangerous. So what are they? I believe, from what I'm seeing, that they are passengers. I believe they are passengers on some sort of transport. This wasn't some sort of weapons drop, or this wasn't some sort of prison ship. 2 pilots, that's it. Cells that look like they were some sort of cryogenic cell. This screams passenger or cargo, but I'm leaning towards passenger. Why? Because these creatures were intelligent, and the fact is that they look like they were being transported somewhere else. We know that these creatures are dangerous. We know that they are aggressive. So why would they be transported in such a non-aggressive way? For something that dangerous, why doesn't the ship have some sort of protocol to equally represent that sort of danger? They didn't. If they were dangerous cargo, again, it would have something that show equally, no matter what in the future, something to show that they are that dangerous. They didn't. I believe that they were passengers being transported to another place. I believe they were going to somewhere where their species could thrive. I don't know why. I don't know who the creatures were that were transporting them. I don't know what they were trying to do. But all I know is that something went wrong. These creatures, when they thawed, they did what was natural. I believe they are considered by what we will call an invasive species. It happens naturally in the world. For example, in Florida, in the Everglades, pythons are running amok. We have invasive plants that are destroying ecosystems of natural habitats. This happens all the time. And I believe what happened in the case of the white spikes is that they now became an invasive species because they were accidentally introduced into an ecosystem that they can thrive, where the necessary nutrients, humans being that case, was abundant. Were they intended to be here? I don't think so. But did they do what was natural? I believe yes. I don't know if this is true, but it is my opinion. So guys, what do you think? Tell me what you think below. Do you think the white spikes are passengers? Do you think they're weapons? Do you think that they're prisoners? Let me know below, and I'll read your comments with most interest. Thank you guys for listening.